welcome to Whispers of Ink. I'm Machado de Assis, and now I will read one of my stories.
Let's start with the book Xerxes Tears, which is part of my novels collection. Chapter 1. Friar Lawrence whispered gently, stepping into the dim light of the cloister. "One soul, you say?" Romeo answered, his voice trembling with emotion. "Yes, one soul, my love. Once we are joined, no force can tear us apart." Friar Lawrence motioned toward the chapel. "Then let us go. The candles are being lit even now." They rose and walked slowly through the narrow hall, their footsteps soft against the stone. Romeo stopped suddenly by a window, gazing out at the night sky. "Why do we need the altar? Why do we need candles? Bless us here, beneath the stars." Giulietta looked at him, eyes wide. "But the church, someone might see us." Romeo smiled, taking her hand. "No one will find us here, and if they do, what does it matter? The sky is our temple. Look, see how the stars shine above us. They are the lights of heaven, far more holy than any candle." Friar Lawrence shook his head. "Come now. The chapel is ready. You must cover your face, child. We must not be seen." Romeo laughed softly. "What use is hiding? There is no other woman in Verona like you. No one could mistake your beauty or grace. You are the only one." Giulietta turned to the friar. "Why must it be in the chapel? Why must it be with light?" Friar Lawrence looked at them both, his voice calm but firm. "Because the blessing must be seen. Because the light shows the world what the heart already knows." Romeo frowned. "But the candles will go out. They will die before we do." Friar Lawrence smiled. "Yes, but the blessing will not." Romeo gazed again at the stars. "And yet the stars burn forever. They were made not just to light the sky, but to remind us of love here on earth. The Milky Way is like the dust of your thoughts, scattered across the heavens. All the jewels of the cosmos, all the light in the farthest corners of the world, they are nothing compared to you." He turned to the friar. "Bless us now. What more do you need? No papers, no witnesses. Only love. Only will." Friar Lawrence took a deep breath. "Then let it be done. And let it last forever." Giulietta whispered, her voice barely audible. "Forever." Friar Lawrence looked up at the darkening sky, the first stars just beginning to shine above the treetops. Juliet stood close beside him, her eyes wide with wonder, her voice trembling with excitement. "Tell us, Father," she said, "what is the name of that star? The one that will light our wedding night. Name it, and marry us here and now. The stars are brighter than any torch on earth." Friar Lawrence shook his head gently. "I know little of astronomy, my child," he said. Juliet frowned, not willing to accept that answer. "You must know," she insisted. "You know the letters of heaven and earth, the secrets of every plant, the ones that heal and the ones that harm. Please, tell me." The friar smiled at her eagerness. "Eternal Eve," he whispered. Juliet pointed to the sky. "Tell me the name of that heavenly flame," she said again, "and then join us in marriage. The stars shine for us." Friar Lawrence looked at Romeo, who stood quietly, watching Juliet with deep affection. "They shine, yes," the friar said, "but not brighter than the light of holy vows spoken in love. Still, I do not know the name of that star." Juliet gasped softly. "Then how do you know anything at all?" she asked. Friar Lawrence paused, thinking. Then he spoke slowly, choosing his words with care. "The winds know many things," he said. "They travel from place to place, from time to time. They are always moving, yet always present. They see everything and remember it all. If anyone knows the names of stars, it is the wind." Romeo stepped closer, his voice calm but full of feeling. "And perhaps," he said, "that star has no name but mine when I speak it to you." Juliet turned to him, her eyes shining. "Then let it be so," she said. "Let our love name the stars." Friar Lawrence watched them for a moment, then gently took their hands in his. "If that is your wish," he said, "then let us begin." "Tell me, what did they say to you?" asked Romeo. Friar Lorenzo looked up at the sky, his voice low and heavy. "They told me harsh things. Herodotus wrote that Xerxes once wept, but he didn't tell us everything. The winds were there beside the great captain, and they heard it all. Listen, can't you hear them now, stirring? They've heard us speaking, and they whisper in return. Howl, my friends, howl like you did in the old days at Thermopylae." "Please," said Juliet, leaning forward, "just tell us what they said." "Be patient," said Friar Lorenzo. "Speak freely, my dear. We'll wait for you." He turned to Romeo and said gently, "You young soul, learn from her. Learn how to endure the madness of an old man like me." "What did they tell you?" he went on. "Some things are better left unsaid. But since you insist on marrying here, under the stars, I'll tell you the truth behind her, the one who seems to rule all others." He paused and looked at them both. "There is still time. The altar waits. Shall we go?" They shook their heads. "Very well," he said. "I'll tell you what the winds told me. I heard it from them, back when they surrounded Xerxes himself. That was the day he marched to destroy Greece, with an army so vast it seemed endless. His soldiers walked ahead of him, driven by the whip. That cruel man loved the whip, and used it often, without pity or regret. Even the sea, when it dared to destroy the bridge he had built, was punished with 300 lashes. Can you believe it? And not only that, they ordered the heads of all the builders to be cut off, just because they failed to make the bridge strong enough. Whip and sword. Beatings and blood. That was his way." "Oh," cried Juliet, "how terrible!" Friar Lorenzo nodded. "Terrible, yes, but also powerful. Power counts for something. Proof of that is the sea itself. It ended up obeying the great Persian king. Well then, one day, as Xerxes stood by the shore of the Hellespont, curious to see all the troops he had gathered in land, and at sea climbed to the top of a high hill. From there, He looked out in every direction. Try to imagine the pride he felt. There were endless crowds, the finest milk drawn from Asian cows. Hundreds of thousands upon hundreds of thousands of people. All kinds of weapons, different tribes, all sorts of colors and clothes mixed and tangled together, arrows and swords, tiaras and helmets, cloaks made of goat hair, horse hides, panther skins. There was a huge, endless noise of things all around. Xerxes saw it all and laughed. He could smell victory. What other power could possibly challenge him? He felt unstoppable. And he kept laughing, staring with long, greedy, happy eyes. Eyes full of love like yours, dear young man. Romeo. That comparison is not right. The greatest tyrant in the universe is nothing but a poor slave if he cannot win the love of the most beautiful girl in Verona. And proof of this is that he cried, "Friar Lawrence." Yes, he did cry. Not long after. His laughter stopped quickly. Suddenly, his face turned dark, and thick, unstoppable tears ran down his cheeks. An uncle of the warrior, who was there beside him, asked in surprise what was wrong. Xerxes answered sadly that he was crying, because he thought that out of all those thousands and thousands of soldiers standing before him, ready to obey his every word, not a single one would still be alive 100 years later. So far, this is what Herodotus tells us. Now, listen to the winds. The winds were shocked. They had just been asking each other whether a man made of pride and harshness like Xerxes had ever cried before, and they had decided no, it was impossible. They thought he knew only how to be cruel and unfair, never kind or gentle. But now, here was compassion in tears, weeping from the throat of the tyrant. The winds howled in amazement. Then, they took Xerxes Tears with them. What would you do with them? Romeo. I would dry them, so that human kindness would not be shamed. Friar Lawrence. They didn't do that. Instead, they took all the tears and flew through the sky, shouting to the stars, "Look! Look here! These are the first diamonds of a savage soul." The entire heavens became restless. You could almost believe that for a moment everything stopped moving. No star could bring itself to believe in the winds. Xerxes crying, "Impossible! Such a plant couldn't grow on such rocky ground." But there they were. They showed them around, telling the strange story how laughter had served as a shell for those pearls, quoting his words. In the end, the constellations had no choice but to believe that even the cold-hearted Xerxes had wept. The planets stared at those unlikely tears for a long time. It was impossible to deny that they carried bitterness and sadness. And when they realized that the heart that had produced them loved nothing more than the crack of a whip, they cast a sideways glance at earth, as if asking what kind of contradictions it was made of. One of them told the winds to return the tears to the barbarian so he could swallow them again. But the winds refused and paused to think it over. Don't think only humans disagree with one another. Juliet. Also the winds. Friar Lawrence. Yes, even them. The north wind wanted to turn the tears into violent, destructive storms across the world, just like the man who had created them. But the other winds rejected the idea. Storms pass too quickly. They wanted something more lasting like a river, or even a new sea. But they couldn't agree on anything, and went instead to talk to the sun and moon. You know the moon, daughter. Romeo. She is herself. Both she and my Juliet are gentle images of kindness and affection. That's exactly what I told you earlier, my good confessor. Juliet. No, don't believe a word he says, dear friar. The moon is my rival. She is the one who lights up from afar the beautiful face of brave Romeo, giving him the glow of an opal at night when he walks down the street. Friar Lorenzo paced slowly across the small room, his sandals whispering against the stone floor. He stopped by the window, where Juliet stood, her eyes fixed on the night sky. Friar Lorenzo said gently to Juliet, "They might both be right. The moon and Juliet could be the same soul, and that's why they both want the same man. But if you are the moon, my daughter, you must remember what she told the wind." Juliet looked away, her voice soft. "I don't remember anything, Father." Friar Lorenzo stepped closer, his tone thoughtful. The winds went to her and asked what they should do with Xerxes' tears. Her answer was the kindest in the world. She said, "Let us crystallize those tears and turn them into a star. Let it shine through all the centuries with the light of compassion. And in that star, all who leave Earth will find the eternal peace they could not find here." Juliet smiled faintly, still gazing at the sky. "Yes, I would say the same." Friar Lorenzo shook his head. "No, numero." Juliet turned to him surprised. "No?" Friar Lorenzo sighed, folding his hands. "No, because the winds also went to the sun. And you, who know the moon, do not know the sun, my friend." They brought the tears to him, told him their origin, repeated the moon's kind advice, and described the beauty of this new star. He paused, then continued, as if the sun himself were speaking. The sun listened and agreed. "Yes, crystallize the tears. Yes, make them into a star. But not as the moon wished, and not for the same reason. This star will be eternal and bright," he said, "but compassion is the moon's role, with her tired and overly sweet poetry. No, this star born from tears that human pride once shed in the fleeting days of life, will hang in the sky as the star of irony. It will shine down on all the crowds who pass below, believing they will never end, and on every building raised to defy time." He looked at Juliet, his voice growing colder. "Wherever a wedding sings of eternity, this star will send down one of its rays, a tear of Xerxes, to write the word extinction, brief, total, and final. Every moment of glory will carry this note of mockery. I want no melancholy, which is the pale rose of the moon and her kind. No, give me irony, sharp and cold, a sardonic smile. Romeo, what do you mean? That glorious star." Friar Lawrence. Exactly, my son. That's why the altar is better than the sky. On the altar, the blessed candle burns fast and dies before our eyes. Juliet. A Tale of Winds. Friar Lawrence. No, not at all. Juliet. Or a mad dream from a lunatic. You called him an old lunatic just now. That's what you are. A silly bad dream, like your winds, and your Xerxes, and your tears, and your sun, and all those imaginary figures dancing in your head. Friar Lawrence. My dear daughter. Juliet. My dear priest, don't you know there is, at the very least, one thing that lives forever? It is my love. And another, which is the incomparable Romeo. Look at him closely. Tell me if you see here any soldier of Xerxes. No, no. Numero long live my beloved, who was never at the Hellespont, nor listened to the wild whispers of the night winds, like this friar who is both friend and enemy at once. Be only a friend, and marry us. Marry us wherever you like, here or there, before the candles or beneath the stars, whether they shine with mockery or with pity. But marry us, marry us, marry us.
Thank you for listening so far. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like our channel and click the bell to be notified whenever a new book is read. Have you heard of Machado de Assis? Machado de Assis, born in Rio de Janeiro in 1839, is considered one of the greatest writers in Brazilian literature and a master of psychological realism. He was a novelist, poet, playwright, and short story writer whose works explore the complexities of human behavior with irony, subtlety, and deep introspection. Among his most famous novels are Dom Casmurro, which questions truth and memory, and the posthumous memoirs of Brás Cubas, a satirical narrative told by a deceased man. Machado's literature often reflects the contradictions of Brazilian society, addressing issues like race, class, power, and identity in a sophisticated yet accessible style. Despite being born into poverty and facing racial prejudice, Machado de Assis rose to become the president of the Brazilian Academy of Letters and a symbol of literary excellence. His sharp wit and profound observations about society and the human soul make his works timeless and universally relevant. Today, he is recognized not only as a Brazilian icon, but also as a world-class author whose legacy continues to influence generations of writers and thinkers. Machado de Assis shows us that literature can be both elegant and critical, intimate and universal, humorous and profound. His stories remain as powerful and thought-provoking today as they were more than a century ago. Machado is a treasure of world literature, and through his voice, we discover the infinite layers of the human experience.